Welcome back, everyone, to the European Smite Challenger Circuit. Still looking for some teams to qualify to the SCC. We'll be figuring them out a little bit later today, but we still have to traverse this lower bracket. One of these teams will still have a chance. One of these teams is going to be going home. We'll find out just who. My name's Gord. Joining me on the desk is Trelly. And Trelly, I'm excited for this one. We got Peace and Love on one side. We've got JUSTF6 on another. Two teams, one of which, in JUSTF6, that has been in the SCC last year, and another that has been showing a lot of promise so far this week.
Yeah, these losers bracket runs for me are my favorite because you don't have any safety net anymore. Right now, if you mess up, if you throw, I mean, obviously you do have a 3-game set, so you have one chance, but there's no more running back to the drawing board. Right now, it's do or die. So any big throws here are going to cost you a lot. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the picks and bans phase, probably trying to get comps that they know can work instead of trying out anything new. So I think some exciting Smite coming forward.
And yeah, you can see again over here on the right-hand side of the screen this time around. Yesterday, we were really focused on that qualifier round. We're still looking a little bit forward. Radical Rodents, Zinedine Zidane are going to be playing a little bit later for their spot in the SCC. And Okie Bogies is going to be waiting the winner of this matchup to see who is going to be able to take those last two spots that are going to be held just covetously here in Europe. And again, a lot of fun when you look at this team, because when you look specifically at Peace and Love, we got to see some really interesting plays from them earlier in the week, but a couple of players that you should recognize. Zero, notably not Zeros, this is Zero, two separate players, but still someone who has been around for a while. Flurry Cube, Leitmotif all come to my mind because they all had some sort of showcase over at least the last couple of days that really, I think, elevated their team in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, we got to see these teams play, and obviously right now, you kind of have to look at these matchups and say, what are they really going to be looking at in the pressure-wise? Because we've been talking about the difference in meta between NA and EU right now. We really just want to see where you're putting all of your pressure, where you're putting all of your eggs into this basket. And right now, we're getting to see all of these. See, this is the solo lane fight I was talking about, where the duo lane seems to be a point of contention. But if you're getting your solo lane ahead, like iPort's able to do here, you can really run these games right now in the EU meta.
And it's little things like these focuses that we're seeing. I mean, you had mentioned it, but being able to get that pressure in solo then really allows you to just free flex over to the duo lane whenever they need you. And kind of vice versa. We've seen a couple of times so far this weekend where, like, one really good jungle gank to the duo lane, like, at 2 minutes, you get your lane ahead, they just take care of it for the next couple of minutes, and all of a sudden it's free coasting until late game, and you start to see the front lines rotate and things like that. But the thing is this is a team that still, despite the fact that we've been watching them a little bit this week, is relatively new and has more recently been, I want to say conjoined, maybe that's the term? They came together, there we go. JUSTF6, on the other side of the map, they've been playing together for a little while now, and they looked pretty good last year. I was actually telling you that they've always had this weird habit, at least in the SCC last year. They almost always went 3 games. One of those games would look okay, one would look great, and then depending on who they were playing, that next game would either be just fantastic, phenomenal, knock it out of the park, or we wouldn't want to be talking too much about JUSTF6. We'll sweep it under the rug and think about it. So this is a team that has been playing together, but they've been plagued, Trelly, by, unfortunately, not being very consistent with their level of play.
I mean, just yesterday we saw them against Team Bisco, a team that looks very solid and already qualified their spot into the SCC. And they were having some early leads. They were showing some great signs of aggression. Masskill specifically was able to get his team pretty far ahead in the early game. It was just those team fight portions of the game, more towards those neutral objectives, the Fire Giant and Gold Fury. That's where they were kind of crumbling a little bit, but still showing signs of greatness, no doubt.
Yeah, and I'm excited to watch them. Again, this is the team, if you look at last year, maybe you start to write them off. When you go look at the SBL play-ins, that's a different story. They showed up when they got here on land, and I'm sure they are feeling just a desire to have that come back. And, of course, being in the SCC, that makes it way easier for them to be able to try and confirm themselves for a land than anywhere else going down to the SOC and things like that. So I'm assuming that they really want to push themselves as hard as they can. Plus, you know, the secure spot of being able to practice week in, week out, and play against the greats in Europe, I'm sure feels really good for them. They have a lot of drive. So I'm excited to see what JUSTF6 has to offer, but I think this one, just like the last matchup, feels like it just depends on who show up to on the day, right? Right now, it's whether or not JUSTF6 are going to be able to look as good here in this set as Peace and Love. And we'll have to find out right now in picks and bans to see if they can at least get off on the right foot. And immediately things that start to come to my mind, Trelly, I mean, we've seen a lot of like the Amaterasu. Bologna, I think, in Europe has been relatively big. You can see down there, Peace and Love, the Daji, the Izanami, and specifically the Gilgamesh has been stripped away from them every single time. So a little bit, well, not a little bit, a lot of gods to worry about.
Yeah, right now, if you're Peace and Love, it's showing you did your homework a little bit. That's Fenrir being taken away immediately. They didn't even have to think about that one. Just right now, Fenrir brings so much pressure into that duo lane specifically. I keep saying could be in the duo lane, could be jungle, but right now, I'm just seeing Fenrir as a support right now. Obviously, you can flex that pick, but he's just so strong in that duo lane specifically. So I just want to highlight that's definitely going to be a support ban taking away. Obviously, the thought, no surprise there. Pretty much just running the mid lane right now when there isn't a counter pick available like that Fenrir specifically that can, get a hold of him and follow that evade and punish. So 2 great bans right out the gate from Peace and Love, making sure that they did their homework here.
This is completely unrelated to the gods we saw, but you mentioned Fenrir sticking to someone, and I immediately thought of Hebo as well. And I can't wait for that buff to go live, man. That's a personal thing. It has nothing to do with bigs and bans. That's just something I want.
Well, I don't want it to go live. I gotta be honest.
You're on the other end, right?
No, I've been getting water spouted by those Hebos even right now before the buff. So I don't want it to go live, but I'm glad that you're having fun with it.
Yeah.
Or will have fun.
He was the first god. Look, back before diamonds were even diamonds. Like I got him legendary way back in the day, and when I hit that rank 10, it just felt good. And then it took me like 3 years to get another god because I just kept playing Assault, and it's a whole story. Anyway, back here, Bologna, the Izanami, and the Jormungandr get banned out. Jorm, we've been seeing a lot more in solo, so it's not like too surprising after like the last couple of days in Europe, but like he wasn't high on my list, especially compared to someone like Bastet, and now this Medusa that gets locked in. And a Bastet first pick, we've been seeing her a lot in solo. But yesterday we saw her quite a few times in the jungle. That flexibility, I mean, it's the same thing that Fenrir can bring, right? The fact that you can go into multiple roles makes it a lot harder to draft against.
Absolutely, and just picking it first pick tells you nothing as well, right? You don't know, just because you grabbed it so quickly, it's got such a strong win rate, such a high pressure threshold, so I think picking it first pick doesn't really reveal anything about your draft, just that you value this pick, and pretty much everyone values this pick right now if it's available, and if they don't value it, they're certainly banning it. Ardio, going to be another very high pressure pick that's been banned away quite a few times. I can't even tell you the last time I got to see Ardio because of how much he's been taken away. But, they opted to ban that Jormungandr, as you said, so the Ardio is going to be open.
And they get an Osiris for that. And so it feels like, if I'm looking at this, Bastet gets locked in. They go Medusa because Medusa's just been good. This Osiris feels like we don't want to play Ama, and we think that after Bologna, this Osiris, best in solo lane.
Right.
And then Peace and Love go, cool. That Bastet's not going solo. We got an Ardio now. Like, I mean, we've seen technically Ardio go support, but it hadn't looked great over there. It feels like, it's just a solo lane kit through and through. So do you think, is that a matchup that Peace and Love are now going to be able to take advantage of?
I think Peace and Love right now have very high pressure. This Heimdall EU players have been valuing very highly as well. When I look at just this left side of the draft, I mean, I can't see a reason why they should get all 3 of these picks, and it was all open for them. But on the flip side, Gore, I have to be honest with you, this right side draft also looks very strong here. The Osiris, a pick that's held very highly right now. Obviously, Medusa, you want to get your ADC some high pressure, very early potential damage. And the Agni we've seen pretty much just like a throwaway pick where anyone can pick him up right now in the meta, so they can just say, hey, the top like 2 or 3 mages have been banned. Let's just grab Agni and we'll be safe here. So both drafts looking very powerful right now, but I do think Peace and Love will be able to run away with the early pressure of the Bastet Ardio just a little bit, as you were saying.
I think they have to be a little worried. Capri has not seen a whole ton of play over the last couple of weeks, but when he has, apparently he's got a 100% win rate here in Europe. 4 games with 100%. They're going to lock in a Baba Yaga. And I think we saw Baba Yaga in North America the other day, but she hasn't been played just yet. And I just heard that Peace and Love had a mid and jungle role swap, which is going to make things even more interesting. So this Bastet, admittedly, and wow, cleanup. There's so much to talk about on the right-hand side of the map, but I have to do my due diligence. The Baba Yaga, not your standard mid laner. Bastet feels a little more standard, so maybe like pseudo on rails for the jungler, but not exactly a swap that you expect to see find a lot of success, or at least with this god combo, I should say.
I believe it was Sops who whipped out the Baba Yaga, and I wasn't too impressed until that late game fight where he was able to dive with the half hybrid build.
Yeah.
I believe he went the Legion Helm into the Void Stone, and then he was unkillable. He was the only one undying on his team at that point. And I was like, wait a second, Baba Yaga kind of looking sick. The home sweet home, able to dive so quickly. So this is not a pick to scoff at by any means. And I definitely think that Baba's going to bring some pressure to that mid lane once she gets online.
I've always loved watching her. I mean, and we didn't get a whole lot of her in the SPL. When she did come through, it was exactly like you highlighted. You're not watching her for the first 10 minutes because like if you see her, she's probably dying. She's not going to be able to get away. When that cauldron comes online, it becomes a little easier for the disengage. But man, that late game can be fun to watch, especially if you get some really good ults. The health, the damage you can do. Plus, we get a nice little house running around the map, and that's just always comedic for the fact that it's on chicken legs. Either way, it's going to be fun to see what iPort can do here. And with Zero in the jungle, I mean, this is... We were talking about how well iPort played in the jungle the other day. So this is going to be a really big change for Peace and Love.
I mean, at the very least, they traded so Zero's no longer in the mid lane, so we don't have to maybe get him confused with Zeros. I like that. I think that's what they were going for there. Just didn't want to get confused with the other mid lane,
I can admire that,
yeah,
honestly.
Exactly. But I will say, iPort is opting to go for what seems to be that Warlock staff start, trying to get those stacks online early. Honestly, we haven't seen too many of these stacking Baba builds, even with her built-in passive, where she can build those stacks without actually having to kill those minions. So I think this is a good item for her, as long as, again, she's looking to play very passively, because you're not going to come online until quite some time with that Warlocks.
Now, you can absolutely call me out if we've seen this and I just haven't been paying close enough attention, but speed to backs to red is a new one for me. I've seen speed to red, I've seen speed and backs with blue for the solo laner, and it does take them a little bit to get to the lane, but theoretically that's going to be nice. I mean, you had mentioned the stacking eventually going to come online here for the Baba Yaga. But more experience, theoretically, here for iPort and Zero, right?
Yeah, so this is a start that started to come into meta a little bit in ranked right when this sort of patch came out, where if your mid lane doesn't get pressure and you're worried about being aggressed on level 1, as Horus does get a little bit poked out here, but seems to be just fine as he auto-attacks away. Flurry Q just, playing around a little bit as he gets grabbed by Khepri. But you get that level 2 early from the back camps in the red, and then you don't have to go to the wave. You do lose a little bit of XP there as a small skirmish happens. And it's just basically saying, hey, our Baba Yaga doesn't clear very well. We can do these back. Sure, we run the risk of our back camps getting invaded, but if your jungle has no sort of pressure, you don't really have to do that. I just remember the first time I played ranked, Venenu was mid, and he said, hey, we're doing this start. And I was like, okay. So I just followed him, and he told me, like, it's better for mid. And I was like, well, you know better than I, so I'll follow you, man.
Look, this might be stereotyping, but leave it to mid laners to find the best way to get more experience for themselves. It always seems to happen. I won't be surprised, next week, Kickoff Land will end up having the Leviathans probably do something similar. Just for Shinto, we'll see if it works out well here. Zero taking a little bit of damage, dealing a little bit of damage. Sodos is low. It doesn't seem like first blood is bound to happen. No, there's going to be the blink from Zero. Goes in and immediately deleted, but trades out their life. Mass Kill is able to get enough damage out there, but it's mid for jungle. That first blood going to Zero, just a split second away.
I gotta say, I love seeing these junglers pick up Blink. Every time I see the bead start, I'm like, oh boy, we're not going to see any aggression until 10, 12 minutes into the game. But once you see the Bastet blink in at level 3, these are the kind of fights I love to watch. And obviously Zero, just knowing that Agni's dash was not quite up yet. Sodos does get caught out. Easy first blood for Peace and Love, but return kill for JUSTF6.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to get one. Plus, it goes over to Sodos, who... I have to admit, for Peace and Love, this experience gain that they've been doing, the split, has gotten iPort slightly ahead. Sodos did just tick over to 4, so it's not this massive, massive level lead yet. But if you keep watching them, I won't be surprised. At least that level 5 coming online a little bit sooner. If you keep it going at this rate, eventually you'll be able to stack a little bit faster. So it'll be fun to watch how these two match this dynamic. And also how, I mean, if Zero can continue this, I mean, you had mentioned the blink and how it's a little more aggressive, you want to start fighting. If Zero, at least 2 days ago, last week, wasn't playing for the jungle here, it definitely goes to showcase, I think, some confidence that you're foregoing the beats.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I feel like anyone could pick up Bastet, so as long as Zero is hitting those, not even the Huntress of Bast. I've seen so many people just whiff the ultimate and still get crazy damage off in team fights, so at this point, as long as Zero's blinking in, finding that good pressure, and for me, my eyes look to Rotwin right now. We've seen so many of these non-CC immune Guardians in the duo lane just get absolutely bullied because they don't pick up that beads until level 12, or sometimes don't even pick it up at all. So right now, the CC train between Zero and Flurry Q is going to be insane.
Yeah, it's something you got to be, oh man, just frightened of. Even throw in Leitmotif, like if you try to get away when Leitmotif has his ult, just all of a sudden being able to set it up for your team, yeah, there's going to be a nice wild chain of CC over in the duo lane. It's something to be worried about, and they do tick over to level 5 now. That Medusa does become a little bit more of a threat, having just a slow or a stun, depending on where you're looking. And Rotwin being able to have the res back online. And that's another thing, you know, Khepri has been doing well, had a 100% win rate here in Europe so far, but only 4 games played. But Khepri is really good at just making team fights harder. All of a sudden you have to kill, you know, 5.5 people, maybe 6 people, if you know, look at the health bars that they have to deal with. So JUSTF6 will have a numbers advantage later on.
That is true. If they are able to not outplay the Scarab's Blessing, of course, you could just wait it out sometimes, but that is the key moment. Can you wait it out? Can you time it perfectly so you get the res anyways, and then they have to waste their ultimates on that? But I think at this point, I've seen more stuns from Medusa ult than I ever had this patch. I feel like she got a sneaky buff, because every time we've seen these highlight reels, it's just huge petrifies getting 3-4-man stuns. Everyone's looking at her. Either they're just finding the best opportunities to ult, or like that ult got sped up somehow and none of us noticed.
Or it's like maybe there's the weird, like it's a weird phenomenon. Like you know you're not supposed to look at it when you hear the audio cue, but you hear an audio cue and you go, wait, what is that? You turn, oh man, I'm stunned. It just sucks. But hey, I mean, I agree with you. Like it almost feels like, I don't know, like field of view has been expanded. Something like there's just too many good plays from Medusa. That's the only way to describe it. And it has been very solid. It'll be fun to watch if Toddy can do anything with that. Through the wall goes Mast Kill.
Gonna
Just
have
trying
to
to hang
find some
around.
juice
Yeah, I was
in
like,
the
where are you
wall.
gonna go?
They're
There's
all
not a lot of
surrounded.
places to go. Mast Kill does manage to make it out a little bit. The root not gonna connect beads. Does get used by the cleanup, but now locked down and killed off. But there's that res, exactly what we were talking about, perfectly timed. So there's no way to escape. Horus is in the air. I think Flurry Q is just gonna have to fall back with this one. They're going for the mid camps, because they recognize there's not a lot they can do in this fight.
Yeah, at this point you kind of just pulled your solo laner farther away from lane with that ult. I mean, unless you're just splitting the farm just because. So now they're gonna have RDO's gonna take a big trek back to lane. But I do love the patience on that Scarab's Blessing. Obviously, you're just kind of sitting there watching Mast Kill. Going, are you gonna die yet? No, not yet. Oh, okay, now you're gonna die, and then you just pop it perfectly. Make sure you get your jungler out of harm's way. Had to do some juking in the wall there, but that's sort of the benefit of Cleaner right now. You can just stay in the wall. No one really knows when or where you're gonna come out, but they do know your HP is ticking down, so they just have to surround it and hope they can catch you out.
And that's not a small chunk of wall. Like, they needed 4 people, 5 people, essentially, to body block, or at least catch it out. Mast Kill was still almost able to get away. I think just impressive and kind of fun to watch while you play the guessing game of where they're going to go, where are they going to be. And unfortunately for Mast Kill, it's not enough to get completely out of there. Or I guess he does get completely out of there, but not in the way that you would have liked. You did have to use the res from Rotwin to make sure that it happens.
That was beads and a res, so definitely a little
Pretty heavy investment.
Yeah, just for the back camp invade of the ghost. But either way, I want to take a look at iPort's stacks here. 44 already. This is the benefit of that Baba Yaga passive. You have not cleared 44 minions, but you do have 44 stacks about halfway now. But Zero is going to get grabbed here in the mid lane.
Yeah, Rotwin knocked up. Oh, the damage is great from them into Home Sweet Home as well, and that's going to put Mast Kill in a bad spot. Good damage, and the DOT, it's Zero who gets on the board. 2 clean kills in the mid lane for Peace and Love.
Mast Kill was pumping out a lot of damage there, but right now Baba Yaga has so much HP, 73 stacks now on that Warlock Sash. We just highlighted the 40 stacks, but at this point when you give her a kill there, it's going to help, but Sodos is going to go for... I can't believe that one shot. I thought he was at least going to have to go for the stun. Sodos make sure to pick up the kill on iPort. A little bit lazy there on the retreat, so those stacks aren't going to matter anymore. I was just going to highlight how much HP that he actually has with that Warlock Sash, but it doesn't matter if you're going to eat both of the clean ultimates as well as the Agni Flame Wave after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, if you're at 1/3 HP, your max HP doesn't mean too much anymore. I guess technically that means the 1/3 is slightly higher. Not enough to live through Sodas. That was a sneaky amount of damage, though. I did not expect Flame Wave. Like you said, at least a stun and an auto afterward. Now Sodos is getting pressured out. Zero once more. Good root and a good leap. Gets over the meteors and lands right on top. Is able to find some retribution. Flurry Q forced to run away. There's going to be A little bit of damage from Mast Kill, but not enough for Flurry Q to fall. So immediately, it's another kill for Peace and Love without really trading anything out.
Yeah, you hate to see it. Robin was close, but not quite close enough to get that Scarab's Blessing off, obviously. Just when you're the Khepri player who wants to get as close as you can to your teammates when you know they're dying, but it's not going to be enough. Zero is going to find the rotation over here to Listemics, but Lord of the Afterlife may be enough here.
That's going to be at least enough of a disconnect. Stevie seems to want a little more damage. It's not going to be able to find the root or the lockdown to kill off Listemics. And that's where pressure can get really out of hand. You've already got some decent control in mid. You've got 2 kills up against Sodos. If you find pressure on either right or left at this point, it feels like that's where Peace and Love are going to start making a lot more just like hectic rotations. All of a sudden, they don't care about being in lane because they already won it, and they'll be able to find their way over. And with Gold Fury being available on the left-hand side of the map, it becomes a big deal. Also, fully stacked. I mean, you had mentioned it was 73. It was only, what, 2 more stacks at that point, so it's not like a huge deal, but it just blows my mind. That was at 9 minutes that Baba Yaga finishes that off and is like the only god in the game that can do something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean you don't even have enough minions at this point unless you got like every camp on the map to stack it at that point. But I just want to point out, Listemics did use that Lord of the Afterlife right at the beginning of that fight, just knowing that Huntress of the Bast is such a difficult ability to grab. It's pretty much a mind game. I throw right, you go right, I throw left, you go left. Maybe you don't do a juke and I overpredict. So you can kind of freely use your CC immunity there. No one that I've been able to see has been able to consistently hit these ults as of recently, but it looks like Sodos does get his dash caught here.
It does get the res off for Rotwin. iPort goes in deep. There's the home sweet home. Now you're going to have some magic tracking missiles, and the damage is looking to be good and good enough for iPort to be able to get the kill. Now the chase is on, though. 4 versus 1. Listemics jumped into the wrong area on the map. Luckily, it's Osiris and is able to walk away, but that is a frightening prospect to be in. Now Kleena in the wall, wondering if Mast Kill was going to go for a little bit more, but a good get in, get a kill, get out, and once again, it's onto the mid laner.
Yeah, a very sick stun by Flurry Q, making sure to catch Sodos' dash there. I mean, at that point, probably just luck, but either way, no beads available, so that was the only real way that he was able to get out, is to get that dash off, and Flurry Q was able to catch it even through the Scarab's Blessing, not enough to keep your mid laner alive, so another kill for Peace and Love. Still, though, this gold lead not looking out of hand in the slightest, just a little bit under 1K.
And that's something, again, just a huge deal when you see something like this. The kills, you know, only 3 ahead, but when you're getting consistent picks, it's always that question of what are you doing with that space that you're able to get. Are you invading any? I think we've seen a couple of at least like pressure on the other side of the map here into JUSTF6's territory, but not like a lot of steals from Peace and Love. It makes that Gold Fury a lot more worthwhile. Right now, the 1700 experience, you do start to feel that, at least across the way. You'll start to see 1-level leads, potentially 2-level leads if it's just one person, but you are going to start to notice it, and it's actually kind of balancing out. I think Zero has the lead in the jungle. It looks like Toddy has the lead over there for the carries.
Yeah, Toddy and Listemics seem to be topping the net worth chart for their team respectively, so they have a little bit of a lead over their opposition, but nothing too crazy right now. Pretty dead even for me. The only real difference here is those relics that you want to be ticking over and grabbing. Obviously, everyone's getting their second relics now, but Stevie not having his yet. Listemics did just back, and he has his available if he does want to use it, so now you're pretty much just looking at who wants to get their second relic. Sodos does not have his yet, so probably not going to want to brawl right here in this 3v3.
Yeah, you have to be very careful. The res is back for Rotwin. Mast Kill almost picked up, but the beads get used. In fact, that's going to be both relics, both defensive relics there as well for Mast Kill. And immediately, that's the go button. Flurry Q wants to go forward. It's a great horizontal team transported deep in the jungle. They're just going to strip away some of the experience camps, potentially this greater Scorpion, maybe Listemics. They're going for the fight, and there's the home sweet home. The firebolts fall down, and the damage seems to be good onto Rotwin. Try to force the ult, but no, they're not going to be able to get it. Instead, it's Toddy, rotates in, gets a good ult, kills off Zero, and the damage is going to be there with the carry. Flurry Q has to get saved. The team gets out of there, but it did not go the way Peace and Love wanted.
I'm amazed that we just had a 5v5 fight over by Pyromancer right now. Gold Fury is still available, but both ADCs had the sense of mind to say, hey, maybe I should rotate over here. Things are about to get real. Of course, JUSTF6 was able to pick up one there, and that's pretty much all they needed. But this is that benefit of having those double relics online. Maskill did have to use both of them, but without the Aegis, I'm not sure if he would have been able to survive there, or at least probably had to pull the Scarab's Blessing. But now, JUSTF6, they do have the damage for this, and the only person close is going to be Leitmotif.
Yeah, Leitmotif spots it out. We'll see what Leitmotif can do. Hey, apparently that's enough presence. There's just a lonely Heimdall and technically a hidden Baba Yaga.
Yeah,
I don't know if they
Hyport
actually
did
saw
walk
the Baba
over.
Yaga. Hyport was starting to look over. That was enough for JUSTF6 to call off of that. That would have been a massive lead. I mean, you had mentioned it was under 1K earlier. It's still 500 gold in favor of Peace and Love, but 500, you split it across all 5 players, all of a sudden means nothing. It's a couple of wards, maybe, if you really wanted to afford it. And you do see some good wards in their inventory, but it's not a heavy lead in the least. That Fury becomes even more important.
I'm sort of liking what Flurry Q did with the build here, sort of turned Horus into this pseudo healer with the Caduceus shield, so now just spamming that 3 effectively, just making sure his team is able to heal up. So now those sustained fights are going to be a little bit rough. Already the Divine Ruin finish for Sotos and the Brawlers for Maskill. Obviously the Lord of the Afterlife is a complete anti-heal in that regard, so they do have a little bit of shutdown for it, but if they are just going to stand back and do the poke battle, it looks like Flurry Q will be able to sustain his team a little bit there.
I'm going to be honest, because it's not something that is very flashy. I almost forgot about the Baba Yaga potions that she has. And you can see the red pot, or the red potion. I don't know what the best term for it is. It's not a red pot in technicality, but it also kind of is. I don't know. Either way, a little bit more damage that's pocketed there. So a little bit of burst that can come through. You had mentioned the anti-heal, though, and something I think that they'll need to be worried about, especially with Flurry Q being as prominent in these fights as has been. There's going to be a rotation from Steepy. It's the front lines versus 4 right now. They've got the backup finally coming their way. Artio gets on out of here and is able to stay alive. The Horus looks to be going in further. Where's going to be the cutoff path? The home sweet home bolts have been thrown out. It seems like they're going to go ahead and fall back. Cancel their aggression on the side of Peace and Love. Start at the Gold Fury with Listemics backing off, with Maskill just straight up dead, and Toddy at half. I don't know if JUSTF6 can get in here.
I mean, with that Heimdall vision, I don't think Maskill realized that he was just getting caught out there, trying to get into the Gold Fury wall, I assume, but Zero was completely aware of it, even through every sort of damage that Kleena can do there. Zero just completely deleted him. The Gold Fury is still on the table here as Zero has had to use the beads and jump out.
Now we can see the sentry ward that's sitting there, so we know that JUSTF6 can see this. Zero takes so much damage, but does get out alive. Sotos crying as they walk back to mid lane, but still happy. You don't get the kill, but they don't get the Gold Fury, so you go a little bit more neutral. Unfortunately, you still lost Maskill, so it's not positive for JUSTF6. But you do keep things within an easy fight. Still under 1K gold, and you still have a chance at fighting around this Gold Fury.
Yeah, I just think Maskill, again, just probably try to get into the wall earlier or try to walk around just to go for the steal there. But with Heimdall's vision, there's just no way you're going to sneak up on any Gold Furies anytime soon. So unfortunately, no sort of pull was happened, so it looks like we're just going to go back to the farm game here. But Peace and Love happy with getting the relics, and, you know, at least they picked up 1 kill in that engagement. So back to the farm game. Gold Fury still is on the table, but JUSTF6 still has the vision as well.
Yeah, it makes it, again, a little more difficult to just exist on the left-hand side of the map. Like, I see 1 ward, 2 wards, 2 red wards on the left-hand side. One is at a conjunction going into mid lane. The other sitting on the Gold Fury and is waiting. There's a lot more.
That's the important one, though.
Yeah, they've got everything covered. And at that point, you could tell me both of those are Rotwin's wards, and I believe you 100% because they feel very supporty in nature. That sentry is paying off already. They just deleted 1 that got placed down here around the Gold Fury. Flurry Q dancing on 1. And that vision, I mean, it's not creating an entire collapse just yet, but it's giving away what Peace and Love are at least fainting towards.
Yeah, and it looks like no sort of sentry wards in anyone's inventory right now, so all the vision on the map is going to stick until it dies off. I do like that we have 5v5 positioned around sort of this duo lane and Gold Fury area as Listemics joins the fray. He will be the last member to show up here, but again, neither team really wants to poke up, and Flurry Q already going to get the beats pretty much for free there from Toddy.
Yeah, and with Aegis down for 20 more seconds, theoretically there's a window here to get aggressive on Toddy. With beats down, you've got a large window, so you should be able to get aggressive into the duo lane. All 5 of both teams have made their way over here. It's just waiting for that first team to either take the bait, jump in, or for the last one to collapse in. It looks like red buff is going to be priority. Mid camp's for the other side. So they just go back to farming, but very aggressive 5-man farming. Maybe not the most optimized split, but, you know.
I like the term aggressive farming, as they're just 5-man grouped all sharing a wave together. Like, oh, did you guys get 3 gold for that? Great, me too. So, yeah, they are just going to stay together. Hey, it's safer this way at the very least. You know that FlurryQ's been lurking around the corners trying to get some beads down. So I think at this point you probably do want to stay squatted up, checking all your corners until you guys can back and get some wards in play. Because, again, no sort of sentries for that whole little gold skirmish. Trying to fumble my words there. So pretty much just a guessing game as to where everyone was hiding at that point.
We'll see. It's been, I mean, a lot of like, hey, we're going to take Gold Fury. What are you going to do about it? And then, like, neither team wants to do anything about it. It really does feel the equivalent. Like, you know when, like two muscle dudes get in each other's faces and they're just, like, waiting for the other guy to throw the first punch?
Yep, they're just
it's
flexing.
that exact feel. Like, they are looking at each other. It's very intense. Neither of them actually wants to start it, though, because what if things go wrong? It's only a 200 gold difference, so realistically it's about as even as you can get. I mean, even in levels, you know, it's pretty much even across the board. You have like one level here, but it's taken away by a level on the other side. And so ultimately, JUSTF6 have managed to maintain this despite the way the early kills were going. Now they get the Oracle Harpies, they get a little more free vision over the Gold Fury. And it's just about not getting caught out. Zero was looking for something, FlurryQ's looking for something, but they might just be going for some offerings, maybe for Rotwin here. As there's going to be the root. Wow, they do almost no damage to that Khepri right now, though, and that is going to be a retreat from Peace and Love.
Yeah, look at that Khepri's build. Rotwin has Thebes, Sov, and Heart Ward already online at this point, giving so many protections, but no beads available on this Khepri. And this is what I'm talking about, Gore. Why do all of these non-CC immune Guardians go for Shell? Shell doesn't save you in that point. I get it. You want to just help your teammates, but you get pulled and CC chained every single time.
Yeah, not even able to get his own ult off at that point. So, hey, with a numbers advantage, you're going to start at the Gold Fury. Let's see if they can get it. No, JUSTF6! Toddy with the ult takes that one away, no problem, and starts to back off. They aren't even going to look for the fight. Petrify, if it's not going to get you stuns, if you're not looking for kills, it can at least get you objectives.
I mean, it's just such a sick tool to try to steal Gold Fury with, because everyone has to look away if they don't want to get stunned, so you can't confirm the Gold Fury, because you have to turn away and look away from it. So at this point, there's no real great confirm on the map for either team. I think that's why neither one of them wanted to pull. I mean, your best option here is either Petrify, which we just saw easily steal that with Toddy's great ult, or like an Agni Bomb stun into a 2 at the same time if you time it well. So neither team really had too much burst to say, hey, we can confidently do this, we have the better confirm, and Toddy, just great heads-up play, knew that you could just walk up and steal that one away.
Oh. Creates a whole conversation to be having if you're Peace and Love here. Do you go for the Pyromancer in a circumstance like this? Toddy's ult's still down, so you might be able to swing things in your favor. Well, that definitely feels a little more devastating. Kills have been going your way. You've been able to find these picks. It's finally a lead for JUSTF6. We'll see if they can maintain it. Lestimics is going to get cut off in path here. Lord of the Afterlife gets some space away, but not nearly enough. CC Chain is the name of the game. But there is the res from Khepri. Waited out patiently, and it's going to disappear. But do they have the damage and the follow-up to be able to get this kill? Zero seems to think so. Zero wants to go in, but the dot isn't enough. FlurryQ, knock-up, auto, not enough to kill Lestimics, and he still manages to walk out of here. This Osiris more than happy to eat all of that for his team.
Rotwin made me eat my words, man. I just said the shell was getting no sort of value. That shell is the only reason that you have your solo laner alive right now, as Toddy does get the tier 2 tower for Pyromancer. I'm sure JUSTF6 is more than happy with that trade right now. And FlurryQ just stuck around way too long. So now you get the tier 2 tower, you get the pick. Fire Giant is still on the map at this point. I mean, if I'm going to have JUSTF6, I might just go for the pull, and they are.
Yeah, I mean, Zero has to back here. I don't know whether or not JUSTF6 are completely aware of that, but they had to know that they weren't around in the fight. So, hey, this is bringing back flashbacks. Leitmotif and iPort, the only two who are able to do anything here, except it's about 12 minutes later in the game than last time. There's the ult from Toddy. Got used on the Steefy, slow them down. iPort's incredibly low damage, getting thrown out by Clean, as Zero jumps in. Zero gets a little bit of damage out there, but it has not been enough by anyone to secure A, a kill, or B, the Fire Giant. So luckily, for Peace and Love, they at least stop something, and they might get a prize. Now they're going to go ahead and let Lestimics walk away. One more time, that Osiris is happy that they just don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, JUSTF6 playing this pretty much perfectly now, just staggering all your backs, making sure you don't all back at the same time. Lystemix took a little bit of aggro there, but does have enough cooldown online so that Lord of the Afterlife already back up if he did get aggressed upon a little bit further there. But we're back to the drawing board here. I mean, JUSTF6 have climbed the gold charts at the very least. Toddy, first one to tick over to 20 a little bit ago, got the upgraded starter, got that tier 2 tower, then rotated over for FG. Now you have a very fed Medusa in my mind right now, already has the upgraded starter and the Silver Branch, has stacks on that Silver Branch when the 1 is popped. I mean, this ADC, this Medusa specifically is going to be dumping in a lot of damage.
They are absolutely doing that. JUSTF6, I don't know what they ate between the first and the second attempt at Fire Giant. The second time around, it's so much more successful. Not only do they get the Fire Giant, they get Flurry Q, and now they're chasing down iPort. Home sweet home. Yeah, it gives you a little bit of shielding, but not enough for iPort to stay alive. Good stuns. Slowed down Zero and Steefy. They don't have to worry too much about that. The rest of JUSTF6 go to the mid lane. They should start pushing down this tier 2 tower. And you had just mentioned how insane Toddy can be with this build. I expect with a Fire Giant on their belt as well, it's about to get a lot more problematic.
Oh yeah, once that Frenzy was popped and we saw that Medusa damage on the FG, I knew that thing was going to be burned, and this Phoenix I'm thinking is going to be going the same route here. I don't think you want to risk a pick here, but it looks like Steefy does not care.
Yeah, walks forward a little too far, and for Rotwin, that's just the easiest go button of your life. I'm going to grab you and pull you further in. Phoenix goes down. They're going to make their way to the left side bird now. They've got a minion wave close by, but it seems like JUSTF6, they just want to go for the objective immediately. They still have a 3v5, a 2-man advantage over here. So they're going to be able to get this one, start to fall back with the objectives and the base completely broken open.
Yeah, pretty much everyone that you want to be ticked over to 20 here, everyone except Rotwin doesn't have that upgraded starter available if they want to back and buy it. But looking over at Peace and Love still, Steefy's level 19, you got your Baba Yaga. iPort is also level 19. Those are going to be some huge power spikes, but I will say iPort was able to get that Charon's coin stacked and evolved with the passives, because obviously does not have enough kills and assists to stack it naturally, so that is that Baba Yaga passive coming into play once again. But it seems like they might be looking for a little bit more here. Port's going to say, you know what, that's not my red buff anymore. You guys can have that one.
Yeah, I mean, just how fast things have turned. It was almost perpetually a 3-kill lead for Peace and Love. They always had a slight gold lead. And it's just one, not even a fight really that ends up going poorly for them. I guess Flurry Q ends up dying, and that pick does cost them a little bit. But that Fire Giant getting burned so fast, there wasn't any retaliation for Peace and Love at that point. And it has just absolutely changed the pace of this game from a Fury to the Fire all the way down to those Phoenixes. Makes it so much easier for JUSTF6. Now they can just relax, but they've got a little over a minute and a half left on this power play. That's plenty of time to go for another tier 2.
They definitely could if they want to. Toddy does opt to go for the Odysseus bow, capping out this build. When the 1 is popped, I think 35 stacks on Silver Branch right now, so crazy damage coming out of this Medusa. The AoE, the lightning bouncing around as well. I mean, this needs to be a target in these fights, and if it's not a target in these fights, this Medusa is going to just hard carry the game. Like you said, nothing too crazy even happened for that FG to be pulled. It was just a little bit too aggressive on Flurry Q's part. One pick, and then it was just so quick, no one could even get there to defend.
I'm going to play a game, and you can play if you want. I don't remember the last time when Toddy's beads and Aegis were used. Maybe it happened in the last fight and I just didn't notice it, but I feel like Toddy has been sitting pretty comfortably. You just highlight that is someone who needs to be a target. We'll see if they can actually get back there. RDO steps forward. Flurry Q goes along with them. The damage is there. But you can see it slowing down. Actually, Flurry Q takes a huge chunk, and that's Toddy's ult that gets used. Steefy ends up going down. The jump in from JUSTF6 is there, and the chase is on. They're ignoring the Phoenix. They take it down, and they kill off more. Sotos with the meteors is doing just enough damage to be just fine, and it is JUSTF6 taking game number 1.
I don't think I've ever seen a single Agni Meteor do that much damage. That was insane. That's the issue with these girdle engages. Once you see it popped, you know they're coming out. Everyone, all the carries were able to back up, wait it out, and then Toddy's like, wait a second, we have so much damage here. Just Petrify goes in, the tanks get burned down, and then you just get to walk into the Titan room.
And to the point where they, I mean, looked smooth. The Peace and Love were the aggressors at the end there. That wasn't a fight that JUSTF6 were ready to take. They just happened to take it when it was brought to them. We'll look at that, watch the highlights again. Look at some of those numbers. I really do want to know how much that Meteor did towards the end of it. Of course, all of that, and get into game number 2 right after this.
of the universe inside of me. Help me beat the shit out of my ego, please. Wash me now in the blood of the Lamb and the Holy. Let me go to hell and cleanse my fucked up mind. Let's embrace the sunrise and the sunset and the time between them. Let us stay forever young and never die. I've been wondering what has happened to you now. Am I the only one who's struggling to move on? Yeah. Guess I thought that this was meant to last. Now I wish I was still living in the past.
And welcome back to the EU SCC as we try to figure out which of these two teams is going to go home, which one will move on in the bracket as JUSTF6 take game number 1 over Peace and Love. And Trelly, this one is pretty close for a majority of it. I mean, we were talking about it. The kill lead was slightly in favor of Peace and Love for a hefty, 20 minutes of that game. Gold lead was like 500 to maybe 1,000 at max, up until JUSTF6 finally took their lead. And they got a little bit, an inch, and just took it to a mile.
Yeah, for me, it was just Toddy being able to stay completely farmed up at that point. Just 1-0 the whole time. That shining ray of hope, just like, okay, we're a little bit behind, but we have this Fed Medusa in the back that is eventually going to rotate over, just be full build. Obviously, steal the Gold Fury as well. Just Toddy was able to put the team on the back until they had that lead, and then they all just were able to shine.
That Gold Fury steal is just it's this one that handily is the thing that sets them up. I mean, you look at the gold lead right now; it's virtually even. Just walks at them, doesn't even have to worry about it. We had mentioned it, but just how ludicrously fast they killed that fire giant, and then immediately into the pick. I mean, it really did go from 0 to 100 for them. JUSTF6 start a little bit, and you can see where that history and experience of playing together comes from, because that's a call that you make when you've been playing in the SCC for a year. That's a call you make when you were just on LAN like a month ago, playing up against the likes of the Warriors and other really, really solid teams that we're seeing at least take place in the North American qualifiers right now. So a lot of what JUSTF6 have been able to do and improve showcased itself here.
There was that bomb right there, just showing how much damage was able to come out
Too
from
much.
Sotos. I had to see just how much it was. It looked like it was about 600 to 700 damage just from one Agni meteor. Remember, he's got 3 of those. But yeah, I think knowing your damage, knowing your team at that point came into play pretty heavily there. I mean, just knowing, hey, we have our Medusa. She just got this huge power spike.
Yeah.
Now we can rush down this objective extremely quick. And obviously, Flurry Q showing up a little bit late pretty much opened up everything they needed to there. At a 4v5 with FG, they could get, all sorts of things there.
And you can see, it always perplexes me, unfortunately. You have to see the supports that, like, doing literally less than 1/5 of what Sotos as well as the Baba Yaga were able to output. So a lot of damage from the mid laners. And that was with an interesting start from Peace and Love. We'll see if they end up going with that same strategy early on, trying to get some of that farm, or not. Here in game number 2, as we jump into picks and bans, JUSTF6 will be swapping over from Chaos to Order, and they'll be first pick. So last time, what was it? We had some Fenrir bans.
Fenrir first ban.
We ended up having a Jormungandr ban.
Yep.
And the Yorm's coming back, man.
I gotta be honest with you. So I saw this influx of Yorm bans, so I took them into my ranked games the other day, and I was like, hey guys, don't worry, the EUSCC really likes this pick. And they're all like, yeah, okay, man. And it was kind of nuts. I did the Gilded Arrow start that Miff's been talking about, and I felt lots of pressure, and I felt pretty unkillable. So I can see why they value this Yorm ban so much. He does have crazy early damage, and then the World Serpent is just super hard to teamfight into. I mean, the ult just goes so far, and everyone can just be interrupted. So I can see why they prioritize this. Just get rid of it.
And it feels like the only way I can describe it is like a premonition, where it's like, well, we know, right now we're seeing a lot of Osiris, Amaterasu, the Bolognas. I guess Bastet to an extent, but Bastet gets banned out here. Hey, there's, speaking of Bologna, does make her way through. But these auto attackers, that next patch probably aren't going to feel as good as top end. I think I saw FineOK with a huge post about it or a video about it. And so being able to kind of preemptively start to transition to somebody else that might make, I guess he's still technically an auto attacker, but you don't think of Yorm that way. I mean, he's got really cool abilities. We'll see if he ends up sticking through over the next few weeks. It is the Bologna, though. Agni locked in for Peace and Love this time, and the Fenrir made it through, Trelly. So that is a new pick, as well as something that they managed to steal away.
Yeah, the Fenrir gets through, Bastet taken away, and Kleena taken away. So I think JUSTF6 is going to have to try something new here. Obviously, I mean, they're forced into it at this point. Since the Bologna is locked in, we can assume that's going to be solo Cabrakan. Obviously, a flex pick available. We have seen a few people jungling it recently, but I think more so in that support role just to get some solid pressure. And, I mean, I have no qualms with this Medusa being locked in. I would have first picked it if I had the choice at this point.
Yeah, with the way Toddy played, please, take it. You'll be just fine. You'll be happy with this one. It is this Cabrakan that has me scratching my head, not because I'm confused about the pick, although, his numbers didn't look too great. It was more so just where is he going to end up going, because we've seen him, bouncing back and forth. Europe, it feels like maybe stylizes him a little more in the support role, but like, he's been in the jungle a lot recently too. It can make things awkward. Heimdall gets locked in once again on the other side. Persephone gets banned out. So they get rid of the Thoth, they take the Agni, they ban the Persephone. I won't be surprised if this is another mid laner just trying to target it down. Poseidon was not gonna be. I was gonna.
No, I don't think anyone. I don't think anyone had a Poseidon in the back pocket there.
Who was I gonna mention? I was gonna mention like Tiamat. I was gonna talk about literally any other mage.
I will say the cripple does kind of shut down Agni and Fenrir a little bit in that regard. Maybe they were just worried about, hey, we have a lot of non-CC immune dashes that we don't want to be canceled out by the Whirlpool, so let's just make sure we get rid of the Poseidon just in case they had a pocket Poseidon. But we get to see the Lawbringer. I haven't seen Tyr in quite some time because of this auto attack meta, but I love seeing the Tyr. The Bluestone Tyr always makes me happy.
And just in any world, I think Europe is like, they just have like the best tiers. I don't know what they have. It's like in the water over there that you drink it, you just become better as a solo laner at playing tier. When he was jungle, I have to give that one all to North America, but it's been literally years since that has ever been the case. Discordia and Serket gets locked in, and I'm going to keep it completely honest with you. That does not solidify where I think this Cabrakan's going to go, because Serket can do too as well.
I will say I've seen a lot more Serket jungles as of recently.
Yeah.
I don't even like it, to be honest. To me, Serket is still a support until these shifts take place next patch, obviously, but it is fine. I mean, Serket's just so mobile, obviously, just so much safety, so much aggression early. At this point, you really can go wherever, but I simply prefer her in that support role just because I think building her tank, you get so much more value. But also this Bacchus pick that just gets locked in, we've seen so much of, and I love it. I mean, that duo lane pressure is where you want. Obviously, Toddy was a big threat on the Medusa. Hey, let's draft some early pressure. Heim, not the greatest, but Bacchus, That's what you want.
I was gonna say, Heim can fight if he has someone around him to help push him forward.
course.
And Bacchus is gonna drag you with him
Oh, yeah.
all the way up there. We'll see who ends up being the support here for JUSTF6 as we jump into game number 2. One more win for JUSTF6, and they'll end up going up against Oogie Bogies a little bit later on in the day to see who can be the team to go to the SEC. One loss for Peace and Love right now means they are out of this bracket. So they need the win to be able to stabilize. And it is this Cabrakan going over into the support role. So Maskill's going to be taking on the Serket. And you had mentioned how we hadn't seen a whole ton of Serket jungle. But I'm also interested in this Cabrakan versus Bacchus matchup.
Not my favorite matchup in the world, I will say. Honestly, your one short of shimmering ray of hope there is that you can stun out the Belch of Bacchus, but I mean the flop on the Tremors, just making sure you can kite that Cabrak and sort of CC chain him to heck. I mean, he usually will not have any beads available. Obviously right now does have the blink, so that's not going to be a choice. I mean, not the best, but obviously when Cabrakan's ahead, he kind of can just do whatever he wants. He does have the passive mitigations as well as Bacchus does, so they will be very tanky in that regard. So I do think the matchup itself is not the worst, but Bacchus just has so much freedom to flop in effectively right now. I just think that Flurry Q, as long as those Belches are on point and opting to go for the Frenzy start as well, they will be getting all the pressure they need in this lane.
Hey man, a Frenzy with a Heimdall who has the AoE autos, all of a sudden that wave clear gets a lot quicker. The damage, looked like it could have been there on the Maskill early on. They're not going to be able to find any first bloods early on. It was a few minutes last time around, so I'll give it a little bit of time. This is the other matchup I'm really interested in. Bologna, who is way more meta right now, versus Tyr, who's just survivable in the best circumstances and can find a lot of damage himself. So this will be fun to watch who can get the better half of this, especially because late game, like, Bologna ults feel very team fighty, but specifically Tyr ults feel very, I'm going to get to your backline and kill them. So it kind of balances out.
Yeah, at this point, I feel like Tyr never really has to worry about getting soloed in this matchup. He just has so much sustain and can honestly just interrupt the bludgeon whenever it comes through. Stay away. You're not really looking for solo kills here, but if Maskill comes over, then you could be looking at a little bit of trouble here. Lots of lockdown. The passive doesn't really come into play because of the taunt and the throw, so Tyr can't really abuse that regard. But already the beads are down for iPort, so there could be some damage going off, but gonna dash out of trouble there and just be just fine.
And that just shows, I mean, how powerful. That's the one thing I think that Serket has had. Whether she's jungle, support, if the rare time, if ever, that she's been played mid, you throw her wherever you want. That taunt feels really good when you land it. You have to keep your eyes on Maskill for that. I believe splitting the mid Harpies. I think I saw at least one end up going the way of Peace and Love. They're going to be feeling pretty good about that one. And then back to the back camps for the junglers. I think that slows down at least the aggression in mid lane. With the Frenzy on cooldown, feels like the dual lane slows down a little bit as well. It's going to be over here in the solo lane instead, where power is shown. Good little tail-in taunt. Steefy gets pulled into 2, is just waiting for that Fearless cooldown. Is able to find it, but is it enough to get away? They've got a lot of leaps, and they've got a lot of damage. One more hit, and Mastkill is able to find it. Listimix with some good damage, but with 0 in the neighborhood, is that going to be enough? There's going to be the bludgeon. It's good damage in return, but not enough to save the jungler. It's a 1-for-1.
Yeah, if Zero got there a second earlier, I think definitely would have been able to save Steefy there, and then they probably still could have got that kill just because of no mana on Maskill. But Maskill, I love the aggression I'm seeing from him right now. Already got the beats from iPort pretty much wave 2, or actually wave 1. Tried to go for the regank, didn't really have the DPS, so I don't think Soto's abilities were up, but already just going right over to solo lane, looking for that early aggression. This is what you need to do on a pick like Serket because she has some of the best early damage in the game with that Cobra's Kiss, so into the Deathbane. It's just a lot of early DPS plus the CC. I just love the aggression from Maskill right now.
I want to see more of it, despite the fact that, you know, you get your first blood and you die. So maybe ideally for Maskill, they want to get out of there a little sooner. But I would admire a little more aggression continue going. And you can already see some pressure on the right-hand side of the map. They're getting deep in the jungle. It doesn't look like they're going to be going for the ganks just yet. Now they absolutely are going to bite. There was the Fearless. Steefy is going to be locked down here. Another Fearless to go a little deeper. There's the ult to try and disengage. But again, Serket has dashes, and Serket can chase you down. Thrown back to the wolves, stunned out by Listimix, and it's a second kill for Maskill.
Yeah, that man had no idea that Maskill was there. You could tell. I thought maybe he had some sort of idea, but using the Lawbringer so early, ulting away, knowing you have no form of CC immunity after that, pretty much just made sure that last breath guaranteed that kill. I mean, you just have to make sure you're keeping your abilities, but I think because he fearlessed in, he was kind of dead no matter what there. So Maskill making sure to get his solo laner ahead now. And you can pretty much rotate wherever you want because I don't think Bologna's going to have a tough time in this lane at all anymore.
Yeah, Bologna from ahead? I don't know. That feels really good. Yeah, I think you can go ahead and start. I mean, putting the pressure back onto iPort, we saw what Sodos was able to do last time around on this Agni, and so being able to stop that from happening to your team would probably feel really solid. Or go help out that duo lane. I mean, we had mentioned it, and we haven't seen a whole ton of it. It seems like it's been going mostly neutral, maybe some trades back and forth, but all 4 people in the duo lane are level 5. No one's got a kill just yet, so despite the fact that this Bacchus feels like it can get, hands-on super early, hasn't really changed as much in the duo lane as I think both of these teams would like.
One thing I want to mention here for this solo lane matchup specifically, you are having a Discordia passive on your ahead Bologna right now.
I forgot about that.
I can only imagine Maskill would be the only one who could steal it away just because of how aggressive he's getting right now. But for now, you have this Discordia passive on your Bologna with 2 assists in a lane where the tier is down 2 kills.
By a mile.
Yeah, it is just not going to be very fun at all for Steepy, so he's going to be sitting very far under tower for a while. You have to consistently be watching your back just in case Maskill makes a return because you didn't get beads and you're not going to have it for 6 more levels now. So just a terrible time at this point. So now if you're Listemics, you're trying to just power farm to level 12, make that rotation, and start looking at Gold Furies. That would be on my mind right now.
5.5 minutes in. It's in a fight in mid lane. Blink for down jump overall. They're just trading places, and they're trying to get aggressive. Maskill successfully doing so under the tier 1. Now Zero, you try to latch on, you try to get the damage, but it's not enough from the Fenrir taken down, and beautiful walls from Rotwin lock in Flurry Q. The Trimmers are doing so much, but luckily you're a Bacchus. You managed to get out of there. For now, Sodos still has some decent range. You have to play carefully, but it's a 2 kill for none trade.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Maskill was able to 100-0 port in the back and then jump out with 1 HP tanking those tower shots. Just perfect heads-up play for Maskill, knowing when to jump out and knowing when he can stay in and get those passive autos, making sure that poison does explode. So great play by him. At this point, every kill on the map, his stat line is what his team is right now. He's 4-1, the game's 4-1.
You know what? It works out for him, too. He's happy to be in this sort of position. It gives him about a 2,000 gold lead. Rotwin might not be as happy here. There's 1 Meteor, and iPort with the tick damage and the help of some people are going to be able to take down the support on the other side. Sodos, I don't know if that's where you want to be standing. Gets a little bit of poke out there, but yeah, does get on out and stays alive. Listemics with the lead. He's taking a little bit of poke over on the right-hand side. And you know what? I was going to talk about that, but then I saw where Maskill was on the map, and it just blew my mind that they were that aggressively deep. They ult out of Zero as well, so they stole away a camp and get away with their lives, plus they pulled the ult away.
Yeah, Listemics had teleport available, was just trying to really try to get as much farm as he could there. Didn't back, just bought a full Berserker Shield. Well, the tier 2, upgraded it, and then got tier 1, I can only assume is going to be the Frostbound Hammer again. Discordia passive, level 9 Bologna at 7 minutes into the game is going to pretty much 1v1 anyone she runs into right now. So as long as Steepy stays away, won't be too much of an issue. But if you catch this Bologna in the jungle right now, you are not going to have a good time.
Look, and tier likes cooldown reduction in general. But when you go breastplate first, like that is like the signature, okay, look, I'm not going to win these boxing matches, and I do not want you to just beat me up. So let's go ahead and keep my heal on cooldown as fast as possible, and if it gives me health and prots in the process, that's, going to be good for everybody involved. It looks like Listemics once more.
You're not back in there, man. Come on. He's going to scourge you every day of the week, and Maskill is still lurking. That bait was all it took.
And there's going to be the Cobra's Kiss. You don't even need the follow-up. Listemics takes that one away. Steepy recognized what was going to happen there. Another kill on the board. Finally going to someone that's not the Sercat. Zero forced to use the beads, and then strifed immediately. The apple's not going to connect unless it comes back off the bounce, and it lands on Zero. That is absolutely nuts for them. Unfortunate pathing for the Fenrir, and now the team pays for it. The damage is good for iPort, and the kill is clean on the Flurry Q. They get a 3 for none trade.
All right, usually I would say, all right, Sodos is so sick with it, that was planned, but
no,
there is no way that was planned. Sodos swung and missed, obviously had the flick, realizing that the jump was there, and just got extremely lucky. Rotwin, but Leitmotif is the only one here who could possibly steal this away, but here's that Bologna. Nope, back, get away. No way you're standing near this Bologna right now. That's an easy Gold Fury.
Nice crystal. Usually that is going to be on cooldown for a little bit, but My mind's gonna be on that apple for the next 5 minutes. It's gonna be so hard to talk about literally anything else. The most accidental but perfect scenario that could ever happen for you. And it leads to a 5k gold lead. Just as much experience. A lot of that in solo lane. A ton of that in the jungle. 3 levels separating the Fenrir from Maskill. 4-1 and 4 Circuit. I mean, effective in every single kill that has happened. Maskill is absolutely proving their worth right now.
Yeah, for me, this is where the Fenrir jungle pick just does not shine. I mean, the Fenrir support, incredible, right? You get to build all this protections, you get the power from your 2 anyway, so you don't even have to build into it. And then you're able to do things like this where you can go in, be effective, but also not have to run a beads and get poked out by the enemy support. I mean, Rotwin walked up, stunned him, got his beads down, and then he pretty much gets 100-0 by Discordia as Toddy...
It goes in! One more hit! You only need it! Oh, not going to be able to find that Flurry Q. It does the job perfectly. Gets the beats and forces Toddy to back away after the ult was dropped. Toddy, you don't have a lot of mana to work with. You got to be very careful. Maskill is around, though, and Circuit has a lot of close gaps. You need the ton, and one of them is able to connect. Good stun from Flurry Q. The knock-up not going to be enough, though, and that's going to be the kill on the light motif they wanted. The rotation from Port is going to be in the area, but is it enough with Rotwin right here? Maskill looking to go in for more, and there's the walls. It's a beautiful, beautiful bait, and they end up pulling the Agni into danger. Sodos loses his life in trade, but it ends up being a good time for the dual lane.
I mean, it's very easy for me to talk about how Maskill is doing everything and being so aggressive right now, but Rotwin seems to always be in the right place at the right time, setting up all sorts of CC. The walls have been perfect. I mean, Rotwin, again, that whole last engage that went so well for JUSTF6 pretty much just started by a double stun onto Zero, forcing the beads out, and then a clutch apple that did a triple bounce off the wall and came back and was able to finish him off.
God, I could watch that. Just like a little like boing sound effects on the apple when it goes through. Absolutely ridiculous that it worked the way it did. But you know, exactly as you highlighted, Rotwin with good stuns, with great walls so far this game as well. Whether or not it's been successful at locking everyone down each time hasn't quite happened, but several times so far, the last couple, no one's been able to escape, waiting for that leap or something out of Zero, making so that iPort just gets locked in, that dash doesn't get you very far. It has been really good to watch what this Cabrakan has been able to bring. And outside of some very like small cases, we haven't seen as much from Flurry Q. A lot of good peel from Flurry Q, but the setup has not been there.
Yeah, I think I've had to say this like 3 or 4 times now this week. Just when you pick this Bacchus pick and you get behind, you're no longer able to just click 2 whenever you see someone, right? You can't belly flop in every time you want to because you're no longer tanky enough to survive. You have to stay back and help your team. Your flop just becomes this escape tool that's sometimes used for peel instead of always being used for the engage. I mean, when you're this not so safe Guardian style pick that is always wanting to set things up, it's very difficult to be the initiator when you also have to help your team not die. So Flurry Q can't really flop on cooldown. It's not making the best look for the Bacchus currently, but you know, maybe a few items online will be able to engage a little bit better.
It's like a 2.5-ish level lead for Rotwin as well, so that can't feel good. I mean, we had mentioned level 12 last game. Maybe even more important here, because now Rotwin has that second relic versus what Flurry Q is going to have to wait for. Just the Frenzy for the Bacchus. And Rotwin's pathing right now screams, I want to go take their offerings from that obelisk, but I know it's not a good call. They're going to be running back. Good blink. Gets just far enough away from Zero. Zero can't do anything. Rotwin does expend the ult, so it is an ult for ult trade. But Zero's definitely going to feel that one a lot more.
Yeah, Rotwin does not have the beads available, obviously opting to get the belt and the blink, but Flurry Q is going to try to steal stuff away here, and it looks like Sodos could be in some trouble.
There's going to be the apple tossed out. CC is good. Sodos manages to stay alive and get the double kill. The damage and the safety from the team is there. They find 4, and they don't lose anything for it. Now the team is more than happy to backspin their gold, and they've got a lot of time to work with. Could they rush a fire shot? 13.5 minutes. That's absolutely preposterous.
I mean, go without looking. Would you believe me if I told you that they were working on an 8K gold lead at 13 minutes? Yeah, I saw that look on your face. I don't think anyone noticed how much this lead has climbed. So I think they could pull it, and look where they're heading. That's exactly where they're heading. They're going to try a 13-minute Gold Fury, and it's even crazier that I think they could pull it off.
Yeah, they're started up. It's happening. It is going to go on. The damage is there so far. I'm going to watch the Fire Giant more than I'm watching Steefy, although keep your eyes on the tier. Half health for the Fire Giant. Good taunt. There is the Lawbringer. But
Wait, who?
Oh my god, that tier does not exist
Who was
anymore.
I supposed to watch that?
Very, very easy kill for them. And then an even easier 14-minute Fire Giant here for JUSTF6. 8,000, now pushing 9,000 gold. And 4 minutes of a power play. Trelly, this game has gone JUSTF6's way pretty much every single way you could want.
Yeah, for me, I'm pretty sure Toddy bought the Executioner specifically for that FG call. knew that he wanted to shred it as quickly as possible. That's pretty much your best DPS item on it, shredding the protection so that everyone can do a little bit more physical damage to it. So I think at this point they're just saying, hey, let's get as much objective damage as we can because we just got a 13-minute FG. Oh no, leitmotif.
Oh, lucky that he wasn't looking. And does get the beads out, so the trade. Relics for Relics, trying to get the Crystal. Crystal's going to be enough, but the cooldown for the dash should be coming back. Toddy needs a little more damage. Dash forward, should be able to find the kill, no problem. Zero is also going to fall so far, 2 for 0, and they only lose 1 Fire Giant buff. Mass kill going down, though, is a huge
that was
deal.
a huge shutdown, though. I think iPort got the credit for that one. That's a big chunk of gold going iPort's way. But to be fair, getting chased down right now, Rotwin is going to block him off. I don't think that gold's going to be sitting for much longer.
Yeah, 1 more hit. There it is. Sodos is able to clean up that kill. 3 for 1. Let's go ahead and make it 4 for 1 with Flurry Q getting locked down. And they managed to keep it. Toddy, meanwhile, all this fighting going on the right-hand side is pushing up left lane. Looks like it should be 2 tier 2s, maybe another kill. Sodos has to play this carefully. Good stun from Rotwin. Good CC chains. Steefy locked away. Ult not very far, but is enough to be able to slow this down. Minion wave on its way on the right-hand side of the map. Pings coming through on the left-hand side of the map. They're at least going to get 1 tier 2 out of this.
One thing I get asked a lot is, how do I know if I'm farming well? How do I know if I'm staying on par for the course? And I usually say, hey, if you hit level 20 before level 20, 20 minutes into the game, you're farming pretty well.
Yeah.
If you hit level 18 when the timer is still at 15 minutes, you are farming absurdly well. Less Stemix and Maskill were 18 at 15 minutes. That should just go to show how much farm on the map they have taken away, how much farm they've been able to accrue themselves. Maskill's died twice and still is level 18.
Yeah, has been more than happy to continue farming things up. And you know what? They'll push that lead just a little bit further. How about everybody get some gold and experience from a Primal Fury? And it is going even further in their favor. 12,000 gold. A minute and a half left on the power play. This is where things get a little awkward. When you get a Fire Giant this early, even with this massive lead, like, trying to get into that tier 2 is a lot harder than it seems 16 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, do you see what Rotwin picked up Emperor's Armor specifically for that reason? I'm realizing now that Rotwin said, guys, we need to get Objection Shred, which they have now in the Executioner, and now we have Emperor's Armor to slow down the towers hitting us because we're going to be tanking objectives a lot longer than we'd expect. Because this is not a 30-minute Fire Giant, this is not a 20-minute Fire Giant, this was a 13-minute Fire Giant.
We'll see. Oh man, if they can get anything done here, Lystimix picked up, pulled into 3. Good walls block off Flurry Q. And Lystimix ults over the wall, gets the disengage. Sodos kills off Leitmotif, and now the team is here to play support.
Oh
A 3-man stun
gosh.
from Toddy makes it look easy from the Medusa. They get another one to put on there. Steefy barely escapes out. That one built the damage over time,
Just
and that
F6.
just leads into exactly what their name wants.
There
A
it is.
surrender vote for free. JUSTF6, knockout, peace, and love. And they're one step closer to the SCC.
I'm so glad we got to use that in the frame that they wanted to. Just F6 against us because we're playing so well. Last game against Team Bisco, we weren't able to say that. This time, though, lights out performance from pretty much everyone involved. Maskill getting very involved early. Can't wait to see the highlights for that one.
Yeah, JUSTF6 look absolutely insane. Very, very entertaining to watch what they were able to offer in that game. We're going to watch that one, of course, look at the schedule and everything right after this. An entertaining game number 2 leads JUSTF6 to victory, and they'll be going up against the Ogie Bogies a little bit later. We'll talk about the schedule and, of course, everything that is still on the line for this team a little bit later. Instead, we're going to talk now about that absolutely fun to watch game number 2. I mean, they just give us absolutely treated Gore and Trelly here for the last time this set. And that one, I mean, like I mentioned it to you right after we finished that, but just like, I genuinely never noticed the AK gold lead. I thought it was 2K for the longest time.
Yeah, for me, I think the biggest change between Game 1 and Game 2 was Maskill getting extremely active in the early game. I mean, the Kleena wasn't doing it for me. He wasn't really finding those ganks. They were able to get online because of Toddy, but once Maskill was able to get really active early right here on Steefy in the solo lane, once you get this Bologna with the disco passive ahead, I mean, it was just curtains.
And just all over the place. I mean, I don't think there was a single lane that felt safe from Maskill. Maskill made sure to put their mark on it. For the longest time was 100% kill participation. I do think by the end of it, some of that slipped, but it was only because Toddy was starting to find kills on their own elsewhere on the map. Absolutely able to control things. And we're watching this from Rotwin. This is not a Rotwin highlight. Watch that apple. It's absolutely whiffed, and you had called it. Rotwin does get the last hit on that one, but absolutely whiffed and then leads into just such a beautiful play from the support.
Yeah, I would have loved to see the I'm a Greatest show up just because he knew he juked the apple, sidestepped it perfectly, and then just, wait, what just hit me in the back? Wait, why is there something on my head? I'm not the greatest. What are you talking about?
Just... that's a tilter. Of all the things that happen in this game, that's the one that sticks with you no matter what. It's just like, you perfectly juke it out. You start running back into the fight to help your team. You still get hit by it just because the tower decided to have a little game of Pong with the wall. It was just incredibly fun to watch from them, and I'm excited to see the damage. Yeah, 11,000 was the topper for this one. Not too surprising that the numbers are relatively low because JUSTF6 got the win, took the win, and continued on with it. They never felt like they fell behind.
Yeah, if you were looking at some of those builds wondering if they were kind of wonky or just some sort of new meta style, no, that was because they pulled a 13-minute Fire Giant.
Yes.
They needed an Emperor's Armor to tank Towers and Phoenixes, an Executioner to shred that Fire Giant, and they were pushing that very early on because of that lead that they had accrued.
Which I'm going to say, shout-outs to JUSTF6 for recognizing, hey, we've got this massive early lead. How do we play a massive early lead? Well, you do exactly what they did there. They get the 2-0. Unfortunately, here's where we say goodbye to peace and love. They're knocked out. And now JUSTF6, one more win between them and Ogie Bogies. They get the set, they get the SCC, and that's true for both of those teams, as well as the next matchup, which is going to be the Radical Rodents versus Zinedine Zidane, which is going to be very fun to watch. We saw Zinedine Zidane earlier today as they took their win in 3 over Thunderhead. We'll see if they can do it again to earn themselves a spot in the SCC, or if they're going to end up getting knocked out by their opponents. All of that and more, of course, right after this.